In this video, we're going to break down exactly what equipment you need to get started podcasting. Equipment might be one of those aspects of podcasting that attracts excitement or trepidation. What equipment is essential, and do I really need to invest a ton of cash just to get started? Let's take a look at 3 tiers of podcast equipment and their use cases. At the very basic level, your phone can serve as your primary recording device. The benefits of this setup are portability and cost. If you're producing a podcast where travel is a key part of the production, lugging around tons of gear may not make sense. For example, consider if you're attending a comic convention and interviewing attendees. Do you really want to spend tons of time for setup, or does it just make sense to pull out your phone and hit record? As mentioned previously, cost is a factor. Just about everyone has a smartphone of some make, so no new equipment needs to be purchased. The downside with this setup ultimately comes down to sound quality. While smartphones have a fairly decent microphone, they are nowhere near the level of a dedicated microphone and recorder. Using your phone may introduce issues that you'll spend time mitigating in editing, like noise reduction, heavy EQ, and other processes. The next level up is to use a dedicated microphone connected to your computer. This could be done using specific microphones that include a USB connection, or through the use of an interface that allows you to connect pro-grade audio equipment that does not have a USB port to your computer. This setup is all about sound quality. Using a dedicated external microphone will always result in better audio for you and a much better listening experience for your audience. In terms of specific microphones, we suggest using a dynamic microphone, as these mics tend to reject a ton of background noise. This means you'll spend less time removing background noise in post. This setup is fantastic for a solo podcaster or a show that may do the majority of their recordings remotely. Cost also really isn't a major factor, as most basic USB microphones can be purchased for under $100. The big downside with this setup comes down to portability and expandability. Bringing in multiple people in person to record with this setup can be difficult. Most computers cap your ability to connect a USB microphone at 1, and interfaces that allow for more microphones may be cost prohibitive. The third and final setup is to use an external 4-channel recorder and pro-grade microphones. While this setup is a bit more money than using your phone or even a single USB mic connected to your computer, it gives you the most flexibility while maintaining sound quality. A 4-track recorder like the Zoom PodTrack P4 allows you to record up to 4 people in person, each on their own track for easy editing, and comes with a USB connection for your computer. Pro audio mics don't need to be expensive. I suggest looking for inexpensive stage dynamic mics like the Shure SM58 or the Samson R21. These mics are meant to take a beating, as they are designed for on-stage environments. This makes them great for field work. It's a lot easier to get multiples of these mics, as they often can be bought in packs of 3 or 4. After you've chosen the perfect setup for you, there are some additional items that are necessary. Headphones. It cannot be overstated how important it is that you and any guest that may be on your show record using headphones. Headphones allow you to monitor your audio levels and ensure that your recording is loud enough, but not so loud that they are clipping your audio. Headphones also ensure that your guests can monitor themselves and their volume. This is true both for in-person recording as well as remote. Cables. Depending on what setup you choose, you may need specific cables. Here are the most common. XLR cables. These 3-pin cables are primarily used to connect professional microphones to either interfaces, mixers, or recorders. USB cables. The primary connection you'll use to connect audio devices like an interface, certain microphones, and recorders to your computer. Filters and windscreens. Windscreens, these are generally made out of foam and designed to go over the grill of a microphone. Windscreens are great if recording outdoors and can also reduce some of those harsh tones that may come from a mic. Pop filters. Pop filters are mesh filters that sit between the podcaster and the microphone. They're designed to break up air that comes from our mouths when certain sounds like P hit a microphone. These rushes of airs can cause what is known as a plosive in the recording. Plosives typically result in audio being too loud and distorted for use. SD cards for storage. Any audio file that you create needs to be stored for editing and archival purposes. If you're using a 4-track recorder, you'll need an SD card to store the files as you're capturing your audio. For editing and archival storage, we suggest investing in at least 2 different external hard drives. One that can be designated as a work drive, and one for backup and archives. One thing we have to stress here is that it's not the tech. I've never had anyone say, "Hey man, you gotta listen to the show. It's like butter for your ears." No, it's not the tech. It's your content that's gonna make your podcast explode with popularity. So let's take a minute to review what we've learned. What podcast equipment you choose comes down to your budget and the type of podcast you're producing. When choosing equipment, there's a balance between audio quality and portability. Striving for higher audio quality with better equipment is important and does provide a better listening experience for your audience, but it will not explode your audience. Choosing your podcast equipment can be a daunting task, especially with the wealth of choices that are out there. Remember, your specific show needs dictate what equipment you actually need. Our next step will be to look at how to hook all the equipment together so you can start recording and releasing podcasts.